The mirror reflected a bride who looked perfect, but inside, Clara Mitchell was unraveling. Her ivory gown hugged her figure in elegant folds, the lace sleeves delicate as spider webs, and the diamond tiara glittered like it belonged to royalty. To anyone else, she was the picture of grace, a daughter of a wealthy businessman about to marry into another fortune. But Clara's eyes told another story. Wide, restless, desperate. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. "This marriage will secure our family's position. Victor Hamilton is powerful, and you will be grateful one day." Grateful. She felt like a commodity being traded. The sound of distant music drifted from the grand ballroom below, where guests were beginning to gather. Every tick of the grandfather clock made her chest tighten. Her fingers twisted nervously around the bouquet she hadn't dropped yet. And then, the door opened. Her maid of honor, her cousin Laura, peeked in. "They're waiting, Clara. It's time." Clara's heart pounded. I can't do this." Laura frowned. "What do you mean? You'll embarrass everyone if you..." But Clara didn't let her finish. With a sudden surge of courage, she tore off the heavy veil, dropped the bouquet on the vanity table, and kicked off her satin heels. "Clara!" Laura hissed. But Clara was already running. Through the back hallways of the mansion, down the service stairs, out the side door, her gown catching on corners, tearing slightly, her breath sharp in her lungs. The night air hit her face like freedom. Gravel crunched under her bare feet as she dashed across the wide driveway. The manicured hedges and glowing lanterns blurred past. Then, at the edge of the lot, she saw it, a dusty old pickup truck, engine idling, with a man leaning casually against the hood. He looked completely out of place among the polished luxury cars. His jeans were faded, his boots scuffed, and his rolled-up shirt sleeves revealed strong, tan forearms. His dark hair was slightly messy, and he held a cigarette loosely between his fingers. Their eyes met. He raised a brow, half amused, half curious. "Running away from the ball, princess?" he asked, voice smooth and teasing. Clara froze, breathless, her chest rising and falling. I need a ride." He smirked. "Do you now? Where to?" Her words came out before she could stop them. "I need a husband." The man choked, coughing on his own smoke. "Excuse me." Clara took a step closer, desperation in her eyes. "If you marry me tonight, I'll pay you. Just, please. I can't go back in there. They'll drag me to the altar." The man studied her in silence for a moment, eyes narrowing slightly. His expression shifted from amusement to something more thoughtful, as though he saw through the glittering dress into the frightened girl beneath. "Name's Ethan," he finally said, his voice lower, steadier. "And you're asking me to marry you without even knowing who I am?" Clara's lips trembled. "Yes. Because right now, you're my only chance." Ethan chuckled softly, shaking his head, but his gaze lingered on her, almost protective. "You've got guts, I'll give you that." "Fine. Let's see if this chapel still takes walk-ins." Under the neon glow of a roadside sign that read, "Little Blessings Wedding Chapel, open 24/7, Clara Mitchell and Ethan," who she believed was just a poor driver with a reckless smile, were declared husband and wife. And as the minister said, "You may kiss the bride," Clara realized her life had changed forever. The next morning, sunlight spilled through thin curtains of Clara's modest apartment. She stirred awake on the small couch, still half-wrapped in her torn wedding dress. Her head ached from the whirlwind of last night. For a moment, she thought it had been a fever dream, a ridiculous fantasy. But then, the smell of frying butter and coffee drifted from her tiny kitchen. Clara sat up abruptly, her heart skipping. There he was. The man from last night, the stranger, the driver, the accidental husband, stood at her stove, humming casually as if he had lived there forever. His dark hair was damp from a quick shower, his rolled-up sleeves showed strong arms, and the skillet sizzled with scrambled eggs. Clara gaped. What are you doing in my kitchen?" Ethan glanced over his shoulder, smirk tugging at his lips. "Cooking breakfast. You do eat, don't you?" She blinked at him, speechless. "That's not the point. You can't just stay here." "Why not?" He shrugged, flipping the eggs with effortless confidence. "Husband's supposed to take care of his wife, isn't he? House, food, company." Clara's cheeks flushed hot. Don't call yourself my husband. It was just paperwork. A mistake. A desperate decision. Ethan turned off the stove and set 2 plates on the counter, then leaned against it, folding his arms. His eyes were sharp, studying her like he enjoyed how flustered she became. You looked me in the eye and begged me to marry you. Don't act like it didn't happen. Clara clenched her fists. I only did it to avoid being forced into something worse. He tilted his head. So I'm your escape route? Yes, she snapped. Ethan chuckled, sliding a plate toward her. Well, lucky for you, I don't mind being that. She stood frozen, unsure whether to scream, throw him out, or sit down and eat. Against her better judgment, her stomach growled. Ethan grinned at the sound. See, even your stomach likes me. Clara shot him a glare before reluctantly sitting. The eggs were fluffy, the toast perfectly golden. She hated that it tasted good, hated that he seemed so comfortable in her home. After a few quiet bites, she asked cautiously, Do you even have a job? Ethan smirked, sipping his coffee. I drive. I manage. I do all right. That's not an answer. He leaned closer, voice low, teasing. Would it matter if I said I was dirt poor? Clara stiffened. It matters because I need to know who's living under my roof. Ethan's gaze softened just slightly, though his tone stayed playful. Relax, Clara. I won't bring you trouble. You wanted a husband to keep Victor off your back. You've got one. At least for now. Her chest tightened at the mention of Victor Hamilton, the man she'd fled from. She could almost hear her father's fury when he discovered what she had done. Clara pushed her plate away, standing abruptly. This can't last. As soon as things calm down, we'll go our separate ways. Ethan rose too, close enough that she had to tilt her chin up to meet his eyes. His voice dropped to a husky murmur. Careful, princess. You might start liking me before that happens. Her breath caught, heat rushing to her face. She shoved past him, muttering, Arrogant driver. Behind her, Ethan smiled faintly, but his eyes glimmered with secrets he wasn't ready to share. Clara didn't know yet that the man cooking breakfast in her tiny apartment wasn't just some reckless stranger. He was Ethan Kingston, the hidden CEO of one of the largest corporations in the state. And for the first time in years, he felt oddly at home. 2 weeks had passed since that chaotic night, yet Clara still couldn't believe she was married to a man she barely knew. Life in her small apartment was complicated. Ethan had refused to leave. He slept on the couch, used her shower, even borrowed her coffee mugs like they were his own. He wasn't exactly messy. He fixed the squeaky door hinge, repaired the leaky faucet, even changed a blown fuse in the living room, but he was infuriatingly comfortable, as if he belonged. Clara tried to ignore him, focusing on her shifts at the local diner on Main Street. But Ethan always showed up. Sometimes he sat at the counter drinking black coffee. Other times he parked his rusty pickup outside, waiting to walk her home. One afternoon, while Clara was refilling a customer's cup, she spotted him again. He was leaning back in a booth, arms stretched along the seat, eyes half-lidded like he owned the place. Marching over, she slammed the coffee pot on his table. Do you seriously have nothing better to do? Ethan tilted his head, grin tugging at his lips. What's better than keeping my wife company? Her cheeks flushed. Stop saying that. People will hear. They should, he said smoothly. It's the truth. Before she could snap back, a loud voice interrupted. Hey, sweetheart. How about a smile with that coffee? A trucker at the next table winked at her, his buddies snickering. Clara stiffened, clutching the coffee pot. Before she could respond, Ethan's chair scraped back. He stood slowly, towering over the men with a cold, dangerous calm. Apologize, he said flatly. The trucker laughed. And who the hell are you? Ethan's jaw tightened. Her husband. The word rolled out like steel. The laughter died instantly. The men muttered something and quickly turned back to their meals. Clara's heart pounded. She should have been angry at his interference, but instead she felt oddly safe. Later, as they walked home under the fading orange sky, Clara kept her arms crossed. You can't just fight every man who looks at me the wrong way. Ethan glanced at her, smirk fading into something gentler. I don't fight for nothing. But I won't let anyone treat you like you're cheap. Her throat tightened, though she tried to mask it with sarcasm. What? Suddenly you're my knight in shining armor? He chuckled. Hardly. More like the stray dog that bites when someone gets too close. Clara shook her head, exasperated. You're reckless, Ethan. And you're bossy, Clara. Her steps faltered. Bossy. Yeah. His grin returned. But I like it. Means you've got fire. She glared at him, but her lips trembled, betraying the small spark of amusement she refused to admit. She turned away quickly, hoping he didn't see the faint smile that threatened to appear. Back at the apartment, she finally sighed, throwing her apron on the couch. I can't keep living like this. You hanging around, eating my food, turning my life upside down. Ethan leaned against the doorway, arms folded. You wanted a husband to protect you from Victor. That's what I am. Unless you're starting to regret choosing me. Clara froze, staring at him. His tone was teasing, but his eyes held a flicker of something vulnerable, something almost hopeful. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she muttered, You don't even know how to act like a husband. A slow smile spread across his face, mischievous and daring. Oh, sweetheart, I could teach you what a real husband is like. Clara's breath caught, her cheeks burning. She spun away, storming into her bedroom and slamming the door shut. But long after, as she lay awake staring at the ceiling, she couldn't erase his words, or the way her heart had betrayed her, beating just a little too fast when he looked at her that way. Ethan Kingston might be reckless, arrogant, and completely wrong for her. Yet something about him was pulling her closer, against her will. The diner was unusually crowded that Friday evening. Clara was balancing a tray of pie slices when the bell above the door jingled. She glanced up, and her heart froze. Victor Hamilton. He looked just as she remembered, perfectly pressed suit, slicked back hair, smug confidence in every step. He didn't belong in this small-town diner, yet he carried himself as though he owned the place. 2 of his bodyguards flanked him, their eyes scanning the room. Clara nearly dropped the tray. Panic clawed her chest. How did he find me? Victor's gaze swept across the diner, then landed on her. His lips curled into a satisfied smirk. Clara Mitchell. Or should I say, Clara Kingston now. A hush fell over the tables. Heads turned. Clara's knees wobbled. He knew. Before she could speak, Ethan appeared from his usual booth, stepping between her and Victor. His voice was calm but edged with steel. You're not welcome here. Victor laughed, slow and mocking. And who are you supposed to be? Her bodyguard. I'm her husband. Ethan's tone left no room for doubt. The words rippled through the diner. Some customers gasped. Clara's face burned, half from embarrassment, half from fear. Victor's smirk deepened. So it's true. You married this. His eyes swept over Ethan with disdain. A poor nobody with dirt under his nails. Do you have any idea what you've thrown away, Clara? I could have given you everything. Mansions, cars, influence. And instead, you run off with a, what? A driver. Clara's throat tightened, but she forced her voice to stay steady. I'd rather marry a man with nothing than spend my life chained to someone like you. The bodyguard shifted, but Ethan didn't flinch. His jaw flexed, his shoulders squared. There was something dangerous in the way he carried himself, not like a common driver, but like a man accustomed to commanding power. Victor's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering. For a moment, Clara thought he might recognize Ethan. But then he sneered, brushing it off. This won't last. You think your little paper marriage protects you? I have connections. I'll find a way to dissolve it. You'll come crawling back, Clara. You always do. I won't, she whispered, voice shaking but resolute. Victor leaned closer, his breath brushing her ear. We'll see. Ethan moved instantly, stepping between them, his voice low and lethal. Touch her again, and you'll regret it. For a tense heartbeat, no one moved. Victor studied Ethan carefully, as though sensing there was more to him than met the eye. Then, with a scoff, he straightened his jacket. Enjoy your little fairy tale, Clara. When it falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you." With that, he strode out, his bodyguards following like shadows. The diner buzzed with whispers. Clara's hands trembled as she set down the tray. Ethan placed a steadying hand on her arm, his eyes locking onto hers. "You all right?" She nodded, though her voice was thin. "He won't stop. You don't know what he's capable of." "Oh, I know," Ethan said softly, almost too softly. His gaze burned with something she couldn't read, anger, maybe, but also restraint. He looked like a man holding back an entire storm. "Ethan," Clara hesitated, then asked the question that had been gnawing at her for weeks. "Who are you really? You don't act like a simple driver. You stand like you're used to power." Even Victor hesitated when he looked at you. For a moment, she thought he would finally tell her. His lips parted, eyes shadowed with secrets. But then he shook his head, forcing a crooked smile. "I'm the guy you married at a chapel on a reckless night. That's all." Clara searched his face, frustrated by the wall he kept between them. She wanted to demand the truth, but her heart warred with her fear. Instead, she whispered, "One day you'll have to tell me. And when you do, I hope it's not something that destroys us." Ethan said nothing. He just watched her, his jaw tight, his eyes haunted. Because deep down, he knew, when the truth came out, it could either protect her forever, or shatter everything they were building. The night was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint rattle of rain against the window. Clara sat cross-legged on the couch, a blanket wrapped tightly around her shoulders. She hadn't touched her tea. Her mind kept replaying Victor's words at the diner, his smirk, his promise to ruin her. Across the room, Ethan leaned against the wall, arms folded, watching her. His eyes softened when he saw the tension in her face. For once, the playful grin was gone. "You haven't said a word since we got back," he murmured. Clara tightened her grip on the blanket. "What's there to say? Victor won't stop. He never does. He won't touch you while I'm here." Ethan's voice was calm but laced with iron. Her lips curved in a bitter smile. "You talk like you can control everything. But you're just one man, Ethan. What if he's right? What if he finds a way to tear this marriage apart?" Ethan pushed off the wall, walked closer, and crouched so his eyes met hers. "Do you regret it? Marrying me?" The question hit her harder than she expected. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. Finally, she whispered, "I don't regret escaping Victor. But you're a mystery I don't understand. And mysteries scare me." His jaw tightened. For a second, she thought he'd look away, but instead he held her gaze. "You want to know why I said yes that night?" Clara blinked. "Yes." Ethan leaned back slightly, resting his arms on his knees. His voice grew softer, almost vulnerable. "Because when I saw you running in that dress, barefoot, terrified, you looked like a bird beating its wings against a cage." I hate cages." Clara's throat tightened. She hadn't expected an answer like that. For a moment, she saw past his smirks and teasing, into something deeper, something broken yet fiercely protective. "Ethan," she whispered, unsure what else to say. He smiled faintly, though it didn't reach his eyes. "So no, I didn't marry you for money. Or fun. Or some game. I married you because you looked like you needed someone who wouldn't let the world trap you." Her heart thudded painfully. "But who are you really? You fight like someone trained. You stare men down like you're used to being obeyed. And when Victor looked at you tonight, he was afraid, even if only for a second." Silence stretched between them. Ethan's fingers twitched, as though he wanted to reach for her, but he stayed still. "Does it matter who I was before you?" "Yes," Clara said firmly, surprising even herself. "Because if I'm going to keep pretending this marriage is real, if I'm going to let you protect me, then I need to know I can trust you." Ethan's eyes darkened, his mask slipping for just a heartbeat. Then he sighed, leaning back against the couch, his expression unreadable. "Trust takes time, Clara. And I'm asking you for that. Time." Her chest ached with frustration and longing. She wanted to demand the truth, to shake it out of him, but another part of her feared what she might hear. So instead, she whispered, One day, Ethan. One day, I'll need the truth. Don't wait until it's too late. For the first time that night, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch feather-light. I'll prove to you every day that you can trust me, even if I can't tell you everything yet. The warmth of his hand lingered on her skin long after he pulled away. Clara's heart betrayed her, beating fast and reckless. She wrapped the blanket tighter, whispering more to herself than to him. You scare me, Ethan, because I don't know whether you'll be the one who saves me or the one who breaks me. Ethan didn't answer. His eyes were shadowed, carrying secrets he wasn't ready to reveal. And in that silence, Clara realized that falling for her stranger husband might be the most dangerous thing she would ever do. The storm hit just as Clara was locking up the diner. Wind howled through the streets, bending the lampposts, and rain lashed against the windows. She pulled her coat tight, glancing nervously over her shoulder. The town felt heavier tonight, like something was about to break. She didn't have to wait long. 2 black cars pulled up in front of the town hall across the street. Victor Hamilton stepped out, umbrella in hand, his smirk unshaken by the storm. Several men followed him, suited, confident, and dangerous. Clara's chest tightened. She knew why he was here. By the time she reached her apartment, Ethan was already waiting. He leaned against the counter, his jaw set. He had sensed it too. They're going to try something, Clara whispered, her hands trembling. Let them, Ethan replied, his voice low and steady. They won't win. Moments later, a knock rattled the door. It wasn't polite, it was a demand. Clara's blood turned cold. The confrontation moved quickly. They were forced into the town hall, where Victor had already arranged a late-night meeting with local officials. The air inside was damp and charged with tension. Papers lay scattered across the long table, documents Victor claimed would annul Clara's marriage. Victor's smile widened as he spotted her. Clara, finally, you can stop this charade. Sign the papers, and we'll make all of this disappear. Clara shook her head, fear knotting her stomach. No. Victor leaned closer, voice dripping with venom. You think your little chapel stunt counts? Please. I have lawyers who eat people like you alive. Back off, Ethan said sharply, stepping forward. Victor turned, sneering. Ah, the mysterious husband. Still playing the part of a poor, rugged savior? How long do you think you can keep this up? She doesn't even know who you are. Clara's breath caught. Doesn't even know who you are. The words sliced through the room. Victor's gaze lingered on Ethan, narrowing. Something about you doesn't fit, though. You walk into rooms like you own them. You don't flinch around men like me. You look me in the eye without fear. You're no driver. Who are you really? For the first time, Ethan didn't smile. He stepped forward, his voice cold, commanding, and unmistakably authoritative. I'm Ethan Kingston, CEO of Kingston Enterprises. The room went still. Gasps echoed from the officials. Clara staggered back as if struck. No, she whispered. Her heart raced. You lied to me. Ethan's eyes softened when he looked at her, but his tone stayed firm. I never lied. I just didn't tell you. I wanted you to see me for the man I am, not the name I carry. Victor's laughter shattered the silence. Of course. The runaway bride ran straight into the arms of my rival. How poetic. You think this makes her safe, Ethan? You've only made her more valuable. Now she's leverage. Ethan's jaw clenched. He took a step closer to Victor, his presence radiating raw power. Touch her, and you'll deal with me, and every resource I command. For the first time, Victor faltered. The smugness slipped, replaced by a flicker of unease. He hissed at the officials, then stormed out, rain swallowing him as his bodyguards trailed behind. The silence that followed was deafening. Clara's eyes shimmered with hurt as she turned to Ethan. All this time, you let me think you were someone else. You made me believe I was crazy for noticing things. You let me, her voice cracked. How could you? Ethan reached for her, but she stepped back. I didn't want you to marry me because of money or power, he said desperately. I wanted you to marry me because you saw me, the man, not the CEO. Tears welled in Clara's eyes. "But you let me trust you under false pretenses. Do you know how cruel that is?" The storm outside roared louder, as if echoing the storm inside her chest. Clara wrapped her coat tighter and whispered, "I don't know if I can forgive you, Ethan." And with that, she walked out into the rain, leaving him standing in the town hall, powerful, untouchable, yet utterly powerless to stop her from slipping away. The storm hit just as Clara was locking up the diner. Wind howled through the streets, bending the lampposts, and rain lashed against the windows. She pulled her coat tight, glancing nervously over her shoulder. The town felt heavier tonight, like something was about to break. She didn't have to wait long. 2 black cars pulled up in front of the town hall across the street. Victor Hamilton stepped out, umbrella in hand, his smirk unshaken by the storm. Several men followed him, suited, confident, and dangerous. Clara's chest tightened. She knew why he was here. By the time she reached her apartment, Ethan was already waiting. He leaned against the counter, his jaw set. He had sensed it too. "They're going to try something," Clara whispered, her hands trembling. "Let them," Ethan replied, his voice low and steady. "They won't win." Moments later, a knock rattled the door. It wasn't polite, it was a demand. Clara's blood turned cold. The confrontation moved quickly. They were forced into the town hall, where Victor had already arranged a late-night meeting with local officials. The air inside was damp and charged with tension. Papers lay scattered across the long table, documents Victor claimed would annul Clara's marriage. Victor's smile widened as he spotted her. "Clara, finally, you can stop this charade. Sign the papers, and we'll make all of this disappear." Clara shook her head, fear knotting her stomach. "No." Victor leaned closer, voice dripping with venom. "You think your little chapel stunt counts? Please. I have lawyers who eat people like you alive." "Back off," Ethan said sharply, stepping forward. Victor turned, sneering. "Ah, the mysterious husband. Still playing the part of a poor, rugged savior? How long do you think you can keep this up? She doesn't even know who you are." Clara's breath caught. "Doesn't even know who you are." The words sliced through the room. Victor's gaze lingered on Ethan, narrowing. "Something about you doesn't fit, though. You walk into rooms like you own them. You don't flinch around men like me. You look me in the eye without fear. You're no driver. Who are you really?" For the first time, Ethan didn't smile. He stepped forward, his voice cold, commanding, and unmistakably authoritative. "I'm Ethan Kingston, CEO of Kingston Enterprises." The room went still. Gasps echoed from the officials. Clara staggered back as if struck. "No," she whispered. Her heart raced. You lied to me." Ethan's eyes softened when he looked at her, but his tone stayed firm. "I never lied. I just didn't tell you. I wanted you to see me for the man I am, not the name I carry." Victor's laughter shattered the silence. "Of course. The runaway bride ran straight into the arms of my rival. How poetic. You think this makes her safe, Ethan? You've only made her more valuable. Now she's leverage." Ethan's jaw clenched. He took a step closer to Victor, his presence radiating raw power. "Touch her, and you'll deal with me, and every resource I command." For the first time, Victor faltered. The smugness slipped, replaced by a flicker of unease. He hissed at the officials, then stormed out, rain swallowing him as his bodyguards trailed behind. The silence that followed was deafening. Clara's eyes shimmered with hurt as she turned to Ethan. "All this time, you let me think you were someone else. You made me believe I was crazy for noticing things. You let me—" Her voice cracked. "How could you?" Ethan reached for her, but she stepped back. "I didn't want you to marry me because of money or power," he said desperately. "I wanted you to marry me because you saw me, the man, not the CEO." Tears welled in Clara's eyes. "But you let me trust you under false pretenses. Do you know how cruel that is?" The storm outside roared louder, as if echoing the storm inside her chest. Clara wrapped her coat tighter and whispered, "I don't know if I can forgive you, Ethan." And with that, she walked out into the rain, leaving him standing in the town hall, powerful, untouchable, yet utterly powerless to stop her from slipping away.